sports and that drive to achieve success, but not really
Yeah,
knowing what that looks like in a job. And
good
so
talking.
ultimately, what happened in corporate America is I was
I'm
bored
diving.
and led down to the entrepreneurial
Ain't no
world where I was
luck
like,
here,
oh,
just
this
timing
is
and
where I
grinding.
need to be.
When the doubt gets loud, but answer that call. Vision ain't real till you grind at speed, so breathing deep. Then call the damn leads. Call the damn leads.
Hey, welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drewbie Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing those stories to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. It doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type, or what gender. You can make a pretty amazing life in sales. Today's guest, no stranger to that journey. I'd like to welcome Alexis Collins to the show. How are you today?
I'm amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, I'm very excited. I want to jump right in. I want to hear your crazy sales story.
Crazy sales story. Well, I was stuck in corporate America, so computer science background. Uh, not your typical salesperson, but I will say, really prior to that, I've been an athlete my whole life, and I think that is something to hang on to throughout my entire story because I think it loops back around to how I got where I'm at today. So got a computer science degree, was in corporate America. Never really lasted in a job more than a couple years, just out of straight boredom. I always kind of woke up as a problem solver, as a doer. Again, I think that comes from sports and that drive to achieve success, but not really knowing what that looks like in a job. And so ultimately, what happened in corporate America is I was bored and led down to the entrepreneurial world where I was like, oh, this is where I need to be. And so in about I would say about a decade ago, I started dabbling with different companies, helping people out, just trying to understand how it all worked, and also realizing that wow, I actually know nothing about sales. I like talking to people, but I don't know anything formal about sales, and so that was definitely something that humbled me pretty quickly. I think that there are things that you learn through sports, which is why I love them, that help you in the real world. I think learning how to be a team player, but also learning how to communicate effectively is a huge thing, and obviously a huge part of sales, and a comfort and being able to talk and relate to different types of people. And again, so no formal sales training there, but the sports background helped me kind of evolve those skills. And so ultimately, I would say about 7 years ago, decided to ditch the security blanket of corporate America and start to figure it out on my own. I launched a college athlete business, and I think it's important in my journey that I like to share that not everything I've touched has been a success, and I've learned a lot along the way, and certainly not afraid to take risks. But I think some people always see this glorified view of entrepreneurship, and my journey has been, I like the lessons, right? I wish they weren't so hard sometimes, but that definitely comes with it. And so started a college athlete business, and I want to highlight this because the sales process there was just so different. I actually had a business partner, but again, not really understanding the formalities. I had always had this vision that that business would be created through emails, and I would use my technical expertise to get college athlete emails, and that actually manifested correctly. And I ended up getting 20,000 athletes on that platform in about a year. And so it's kind of funny to see something that I had no idea or no like execution strategy work there actually come to fruition. So like my business partner was like, yeah, you can just like give away free t-shirts. And I was like, what? I was like, I don't know how we're gonna like make enough t-shirts for these. There's 700,000 college athletes for context there. So I'm like worried that we're gonna have to be giving away 700,000. Like, I'm like, how are we gonna do this? And he's like, no, no, no. Like, you have to understand that not everybody's gonna do this. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, that's great. We can mail these t-shirts out to the ones that joined. And even if it's 20,000, that's a lot better than 700,000. So it was an interesting and eye-opening experience there, just to, a different, again, sales strategy, and learning how to connect with these college athletes, and then connect them to each other and get them to buy in. Well, ultimately, after a couple years, decided to kind of end that partnership. I do feel very strongly and passionate about the mission of creating a like-minded group for these college athletes to join. But honestly, it was just there's a lot of turnover in that space, which is kind of different from a typical, I'll say like a blue collar business where it's like a service-based thing. It's just a very different environment because it's always changing, and you have to figure out how to stay connected to them. Because again, what I tell people is once you're off that college campus and out of that bubble, your world just changes and your connection to that sports team changes. And so it was a very different sales sales process there. And so again, still passionate about the idea, but didn't, decided to kind of put that on pause. Again, love sports. And so then, sort of seamless transition into what I'm doing now, which is a company called Gains on the Go. It is a mobile protein bar. So I like to tell people, think of an ice cream truck where they have a bunch of different products from different companies, and I sell protein. And so whether it's protein powder and, doing shakes, whether it's doing supplements, protein snacks, or just healthy snacks, I am your snack bar at gyms, sporting events, youth tournaments, sort of anywhere where the products that are typically available are not healthy and straight garbage and trash. I am bringing a new concept and a new vision to that space. And so very different in terms of this is more aligned with the typical sales, right? Is like trying to get customers. And so um it's another thing. A lot of my ideas, for whatever reason, are concepts that don't exist. I guess I'm solving my own problems. And so it's a lot of explaining. But once like you reacted, once I explained it, people are like, oh, that totally makes sense. And oh, that doesn't exist. And wow, that's really smart. And so my process is a lot of talking about and explaining and conveying what it is. And then people were like, oh, that's genius, right? And then they walk away from an event and they're like, oh, yeah, like that, this belongs here, this belongs there. And then word of mouth. And so I am in over my head in this business trying to generate leads and sales and all of those types of things. So,
I my hat goes on, and all I can think about is like all the different things that I would love to go down the path of like, hey, here we could do this and do this and this. So like, we're gonna definitely have to connect. But what I love about this story is that it's so common to be in a corporate position or be in a career for 3 to 5 years and get bored. I'm the same way. Every 3 to 5 years, I kind of hit this point where I'm just like, okay, I'm already in the upper echelon of what I'm doing financially, as an earner, as all the awards and different things in these industries. And so like, there's not a whole lot to strive for. And I was an athlete as a kid, but I wasn't as competitive athlete. I got into sports and then realized that I didn't like being controlled and told what to do. So I went down like skateboarding and BMX because I could just freestyle and do whatever I wanted over there. But I've always had a respect for the correlation between sports, fast-paced communication, pressure, all the things that go into being a great athlete, and how it applies in the same space for sales. Because when you're on the phone and you're dealing with frustrated people, or you're trying to get clarity around what something is going to do, like when the ball hits the bat, where's it going to go? Well, depending on the stance and the pitcher and wherever, like there's so many variables. So I think that you're definitely in a space where you may not recognize it, but you're bringing the two together in a great way. And what I think is really cool about the passion project that you've created for yourself with Gains on the Go is that you're right. That's not a space that really exists, but it should, because we're all starting to recognize that the things that we eat also play a big factor into how we perform throughout the day. And when you're looking at the high level sales professionals that are out there right now, especially the ones on Instagram and Facebook that we all see in the marketing world, that's it, right? It's like you need to be healthy, you need to have your shit in order, and you need to be focused on what you're trying to do to grow from a mental perspective as much as a physical perspective. And so I'd be curious for you, like knowing that you're going into a space that doesn't really exist and knowing that you're going to have to figure this thing out. There's a lot of people out there that are afraid to do that. So what was the one thing that you kind of had in your back pocket or that you leaned in on that was like, hey, I'm going to go all in on this and just have faith or trust the process? Because I think there's a lot of people that are trying to find that thing.
great question. And one I struggled with, I think, a lot, especially in the beginning. Like, because I had the comfort of corporate America, I didn't feel the need to jump to entrepreneurship, right? It ultimately, I think, what comes down to is fulfillment, right? And people start to have this point in life where they're like, I am just not fulfilled. And that is enough to propel them over the risk taking of like, oh God, I'm scared. I have to know everything, right? Like, I held on to, I have to know everything for so long. And I think what I've done now is the regret of holding on for so long and not trying is what propels me now that I don't need to know everything. I'm not gonna know everything. And if I don't go, like, then nothing's gonna happen. And so, because it definitely paralyzed me forever. Like, I just never did this. And then the more I talk about, like, I have other ideas too that I want to do. And I literally just don't, there's not enough hours in the day. I'm only one person. Every idea I have is something that hasn't been invented. And it's just like, God, I don't have enough hours to create them all. But
Not
it's
yet.
really an important point to get over the hump and like what actually makes you do it. And I think I started when I put myself in places to meet other like-minded individuals, driven, goal-oriented types of people, and kept rehearing that message like, I didn't know everything when I started, and you're not going to know, and you are going to fail, and it's okay to fail. I think because in sports I was so competitive and I always wanted to win that failure just wasn't an option. Like, I am going to win. And that confidence didn't necessarily come in entrepreneurship, but I think through again, my failures and my lessons, like, it's there. Like, my drive is there, right? Like, and I think the other comparison I want to bring into this is that I happen to be training for bodybuilding now, and I think it's a very similar discipline where, like, a lot of people know me. Like, I feel like if you know me on social media, it's a lot of what you see is my daily discipline. My gym is my non-negotiable, my zero excuses. I've done 75 hard. Like, I just have this discipline, and people come back to me and tell me, they're like, do you realize like how disciplined you are? And I'm like, no, because I just operate. I just go. I don't think. I don't negotiate. And when you train for something like a sport like bodybuilding, it's subjective. You're going to get on that stage, and those judges might not like you that day. They might have liked you yesterday, but they don't like you today. Well, there's nothing you can do about it, but you're still prepared. And so I think it's very similar and the same in the entrepreneurship world. It's like, you can't get set on what that end outcome is, but you got to drive. And I think that's where having the passion for the things that I've created is what has helped me go, right? I had this passion to help these college athletes, so it made me go, even though the lane at the time, name, image, and likeness was just coming about. And people were like, oh, are you a name, image, and likeness company? Are you a sports agent? And I'm like, no, I'm in the middle. Now here I find myself again. They're like, oh, are you a food truck? Oh, are you? And I'm like, no, no, no. Like, I'm in the middle, right? And then, with my airport gym concept that I'm like piloting, they're like, oh wow, that's a genius concept. Like, what about, and so it's like, no, I've just learned that I don't have a lane. Nothing I do has a lane. It's not been created. I am forging my own path. And so I have the confidence to understand that even though the path isn't there to see, I am going to pave it. And in the hopes that maybe someday after me, somebody else, I paved it for somebody else. And I think I'm growing up in a generation where, when I was a little kid, that female athlete at the professional level wasn't a thing we saw, right? Like, they just weren't playing professional sports when I was growing up. Now it's everywhere, right? And so maybe I'm doing the same thing in the entrepreneurship world, especially because I'm catering in this specific business with Gains on the Go. I really am trying to help my 14-year-old self and the girl that needed to understand the importance of nutrition and training and sleep and the mental game and all these things that truly, are part of sales and the performance of a business owner. Like, you got to be prepared. Your health is everything. And I'm, like, dealing with some of that in my personal life. And it's like, it shows up for me every day in different ways that, like, if I take care of my health, the rest will all take care of itself. And so that's truly kind of what drives and motivates the passion, that the path might not be paved, but I'm going to pave it and I'll figure it out.
I love that for so many reasons. And I really appreciate the correlation to the mission that you're on from a bodybuilding standpoint and the recognition that it really is going to be you against you. And there's competition, and at the same time there's nothing you can do to really compare yourself because each body is different and every judge is going to see you different, and based on what your anatomy is and in the muscle structure, they're going to decide in that moment, hey, this is who we say is the winner today. And I think what is really interesting about that for me is that in the sales world it's very much the same. Like, you can be in a company and be competitive against the other sales professionals, or you can own a business and be competitive against the other people in your market. But, like, at the end of the day, it's you against you. You're going to be the one who's going to make the decision that gets you to the next level, or the one that takes you down the path that you don't want to be on. Yeah, your competitors are going to do what their competitors are going to do, but it's that old quote, or the poster with Michael Phelps on it, right? You ever see that one where it's like, winners focus on winning and losers focus on the winners, or something like that? This is
Hmm.
the same thing that exists in sales and entrepreneurship. And so I really appreciate that you're recognizing that for yourself and that you were vulnerable enough to kind of tell people like, hey, I don't really know. And I know I may fail and I failed a couple times, but it's okay because I'm going to just keep moving forward. And I think that's the thing that most entrepreneurs struggle with is their own rationalizations and their own justification about why it's okay to do a little bit less. And the gym is a great place to create that connection because I come from being at one point, I was 315 pounds, like very unhealthy. So I certainly understand the discipline necessary, not just to lose it, but to maintain that. And it's
Hmm.
the same, losing weight, gaining weight, whether you're on either side of that coin, it is a daily discipline and a routine. And I chuckle at the idea of, I love games on the go because I remember being a young kid and playing baseball and eating 3 hot dogs in a baseball game. And like, there's zero reasons a 12-year-old kid should be eating 3 glizzies. And who knows how many sodas I probably drank at that time. So like, knowing what I know now, and if my son is playing sports, I would love something like what you have because I recognize the difference. So I appreciate that you're doing that. What I'm curious about for you, though, is when you're going out and you're explaining to people this new concept, because sometimes that's a struggle. They're like, people don't have the confidence in their product or their service just yet. So, what's the one thing that you've kind of set for yourself as your process, or how do you get hyped up to just go out and deliver that, knowing that it doesn't exist, but saying, "Hey, I'm 100% believer in what we bring here." Like, how did you set yourself up for that?
I'd love to say there was like a good thing, but I think what's interesting is I go back to this. I'm a very passionate person. I think that that's what helps. Choosing something that you're passionate about helps. So, I've been asked, "Oh, do you want to be a personal trainer?" And I'm like, "No, that's not really." Again, I'm just no excuses, right? So I can't do a training. You can pay me to help you, but like if you're going to tell me you can't show up because you don't feel like it, well, we're done. Like I just have no use for that. And so but what I do have is I do have a huge heart for helping people. I truly do. Nothing brings me more joy than being able to help somebody share an experience. And so my passion for helping people understand their nutrition is what helps me craft my message. So, I'm at a gym last night, right? And you meet all different types of people, all different types of fitness levels, all different types of goals. And the way I view it, which is again so interesting, because I'm not a true like I don't look at myself and I'm like, oh, I'm in Drewbie's sales world. Like it's not, I don't see myself the same way. But it's also funny because there is such a comfort in that space for me that I look at as like every conversation I can change somebody's life. Every single conversation I had. I don't know how many people I talked to last night, but it's a chance for me to like meet them where they're at. And I don't have to do anything besides be myself and just share the information I know and what I've learned. And people love that. They love that I'm genuine. They love that I'm truly not selling anything. I tell people all the time, like, these are the products, but like, I just want to help you find what works for you because that is the message I wish somebody had told me. When you get into the health and fitness space, a lot of people, and again with influencer culture, it's that kickback, right? I'm getting a kickback, so I want you to buy this product. No, I don't care who's paying me because this is where, and it goes back to something you said, I don't care about the opinions because I got to pay my own bills. Unless you want to pay my bills, then you can talk about me being afraid. But I got to pay my own bills, so I got to figure out how to do that. And so I think I want to highlight that because it's been something that crosses my mind when I find these tough points about, oh, what am I going to go do? No, you've got bills to pay, so you got to go do it. Like, and there just is no choice because I don't have the corporate job like helping, to cover that. And so, um, just the conversations are so easy and so natural. People want help. They don't know who to ask. They don't know what to ask. And so it is so fulfilling to be able to just show up at something. People have never tried these products. And it's nothing, I mean, shout out to First Form, love them. That's a lot of the stuff I do have right now. I happen to get some new stuff at the Arnold this weekend, which is super exciting. A lot of people want protein ice cream. I don't know. And protein gummy bears. Those were the two highlights last night. But people don't know what they want until you put it in front of them. And so then it just starts the conversation. And it really is natural. I think, it is truly unfortunate when I walk away from the event last night. It's like people just have no idea. Like we truly have failed as a a society to help people understand. And again, I go back to it, like, your health is your wealth. I say it every day. It's why it's a non-negotiable for me. If you want to be able to get up and go chase the world and chase your dreams and do whatever, you have to be healthy to a point where you don't have to think about that. I do not wake up every day and I'm like, oh my God, can my feet hit the floor? Can I walk? Nah, none of it. Like, it is get up and go and straight execute. And there is a lot of preparation that comes with my lifestyle and my discipline that sets me up for that success to be able to execute. And, and that's another thing that goes along with this lifestyle. But it's just, that's what the passion is. Like, I wish everybody could truly understand their own health, right? And I think it's just a big, it's a learning thing. And so having being able to have conversations with all different types of people and not feeling the pressure of actually having to sell them something, just help them, is that's easy for me.
Well, and what you do so beautifully that you probably don't even recognize is that you're creating a safe space, which I hate that phrase, but you're creating a space where these people can be vulnerable and they can express their frustrations and their desires in a way that doesn't feel judgmental.
Hmm.
Because one thing I know, going to the gym and building connections with complete strangers and being like, "Yo, that was awesome. High five. You can, you're crushing it." Or like, I have Rick and Nick in my gym right now. It's a husband, a dad, and a son, and like they're always in there. They're very consistent, super routine. Like, you can watch, they're writing everything in. I love it, and I always give them props because they're consistent. They show up, and they just believe that if they follow the process, they're gonna get the results. And I prefer the wild off the rails workout stuff. I don't follow it. Like, I have a routine, but I'm also kind of a menace in there. And so it's fun because even though we have different training styles, we both recognize that we can come together and offer advice. And so, hey, I was sharing with him about farmer's carries and using the long dumbbell instead of the short one. And he was like, oh man, you should try this, and this technique. And so you create this space and relationship where people are comfortable sharing and asking questions. And that's the thing that
Hmm.
you're doing right now that you may or may not have recognized until this moment, that is the
Yeah.
key to success in a service based sales business. And that's what most people are forgetting, that they're in a service business, but they're trying to be transactional about it. Hey, let me save you this money. Let me this, that, whatever. But that's not why they're there. They're not making a decision to be, in a transaction. They're making an emotional decision to change in some way, especially in your space where it's like, hey, you can go and buy a glizzy and a soda, or for the same price, I can hook you up with some, blueberry muffin, and we're tossing a little this. You're going to not only feel better, you're going to run faster, and you're not going to shit yourself later. Like, just saying, probably a good thing, right? Although sometimes too much protein. Anyway, we won't go down that path, right? But that's
It's true.
that's the thing that you're doing, that you are wonderfully setting aside, and I want people to understand, is that a service based sales mentality and approach, it does not always create immediate massive revenue spikes, but over the long term, the lifetime value of your clients becomes exponential, and the opportunity to create a bigger brand is the key to that whole process. So kudos to you, Alexis, because it's not something that people talk about enough on this show.
Thank you. Yeah, I think my sales experience is so informal, right? I don't feel like formally trained. I'm always like, oh, should I go take something and learn something? And I think I definitely don't realize that I have a natural skill that I just kind of use. And I have again, because I haven't been formally trained, I have no idea where it fits in
You
an
don't know
actual
what you don't know
sales
yet.
training process. Yeah. And so I just kind of do what's comfortable and hope it works. But yeah, it's definitely not. Because I never wanted to be that pushy salesperson. And so I just don't do that with other people. And does it affect my bottom line right now? Sure. Like, because I'm giving away a lot of free samples, but I'm looking long term, because if I'm going to change your life, I'm going to be around for more than one sale. And so that's how you have to look at that. And, again, there's so many other opportunities, right? One is just a pop off of this space, but, looking at partnering to supply businesses with products and teams with products, whether that's a healthy vending machine or something else.
Yeah.
Really looking to explore the gift space. I'd love to create a protein package, like for birthdays and for other stuff. Like, here, give your friend that loves the gym, like, try all these different products. Like, there's a million ways to gift, or maybe it's like an event that wants to give away stuff, hey, why don't you give away a bunch of protein bars instead of the candy or the other crap that, nobody wants? Just saying like, hey, if they're going to sit all day, maybe give them a protein bar in their bag. And so there's all these other ways that I want to leverage this gains on the go. I call it bringing convenience to protein. Just in other areas that like we do things now, but we don't do it with this. And I think it's actually very interesting what's kind of happening in society because it feels like protein is the buzzword in 2026. Every package says it's got protein. Meanwhile, it's like 5 grams, and you're like, well, that's not really close to how much you
And
actually need.
400
But
calories, right? And you're like,
yeah, and 20 grams of fat, you're like close, but not really.
yeah.
And so yeah, definitely a lot of education happening. And maybe that's, educating people on the process they don't even know. And that's part of the sales process, just having the conversation, just where to start, right? So yeah, that's definitely where it's at right now. And excited to see where all these conversations go, right? And kind of where it leads.
Well, and I know we could nerd out on this for many, many hours because I love this topic. It's something that is definitely near and dear to my heart, and there's not enough people that understand it. So, how can we find you, follow you, check out more of your content? I know this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what you're sharing with others on how to get this stuff figured out.
Yeah, so I do have my own social media. Instagram is where you mainly find me. I am Alexis Collins on there. That's my personal page. Gains on underscore gains on the go is my business. Instagram, that is pretty quiet. I am also personally on Facebook, Alexis Collins. I'm working on my social media game. I am not a cool 20-year-old. I love when people tell me I look 25. Thanks for the compliment, but I am not that. And so I am learning and adapting. We all have areas of opportunity and growth. Social media is definitely mine, but I do post stuff on there. A lot more of my Facebook content is about a lot of the discipline and the healthy lifestyle stuff. And, again, I think the call to action I want to give for anybody listening to this call is like, if you need help, if you don't know where to start, if you want to have a conversation or get information, my DMs are always open and I will always respond to anybody. I am not bigger or better than anybody else. I am just happy to help people. And so, if you're unsure, like reach out. I promise, there's nothing wrong. There's no harm. And I encourage you, if anything I've said has been inspiring or, led you to questions, like please reach out. Don't hesitate. I'm happy to help.
Absolutely love it. And listen, if you guys and ladies enjoyed the show, share it on social media. This is one of those great episodes. It's filled with the low-key gems that people are going to breeze through, but make sure you give it a good listen. Go back and listen again. Maybe you know somebody who's kind of struggling with this whole getting their lifestyle figured out and dialed in, and like you don't want to tell them, that you know this, but maybe send them this episode. Just be like, hey, I heard this episode. This lady's awesome. I think you'll get a lot of value out of the conversation. Go check it out. Because that's what this is all about. Spreading the message, helping people get dialed in, figuring out that we're all on a very unique journey. And also there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help if you will be vulnerable enough to ask and to be, someone that will learn and take action on that. So share the show. Go over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your story. Maybe you've been in sales and you're doing some cool stuff. We want to bring you on the show. While you're there, grab a hat, keychain, wristband, something, right? Support us. Help us keep the movement alive. We'll see you guys next time. Go call the damn leads.
When the doubt gets loud, but answer that call. Vision ain't real till you grind that speed, so breathing deep. Then call the damn leads. Call the damn leads.